Genesis, selling England by the pound, right now on States and Kingdoms. Welcome back to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about Selling England by the Pound by Genesis from 1973.
This is an album that people cite as their favorite Genesis album all the time.
I see it all the time.
And, you know, I find that really interesting. We talk about that a lot. Unfortunately, this isn't the place to talk about that. So, you know...
Don't get personal.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is really interesting. Musicians have cited this album as their favorite. And we've talked about how unique Genesis albums are. Like, each one, truly each one, is its own thing. Mm-hmm. This may be almost the most unique case of that.
Yeah. I always thought it was interesting because I have a problem. This is let me just be personal for a second. I have a problem in my head.
Can I just step away for a second?
In my head, I have a problem with the early Genesis albums and putting them in sequence. Mm-hmm. It's like some kind of weird mental block. I always want Selling England by the Pound to be like after Trespass.
You want it earlier.
Yeah. I want it earlier. I don't know why. And when I really think about this album, a year before The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, I'm like, no. Well, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that album is very different.
Yeah.
The way their albums can show a progression, but also share qualities with an album that was, 5 years mm-hmm. later or 5 years earlier. To me, the album that is almost most like this is Wind and Wuthering. As different as those albums are, there are some qualities that really do kind of unite them. And this album is very different from Foxtrot and Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Yeah, it is.
And so much so that having just listened to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway and did 2 videos about it, 2 parts, it's almost like you have to adjust to this album. It doesn't have the angst. It doesn't have the explosiveness of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Its virtues really lie in a totally different area.
Because it's not like grand. It's not like like big, and I don't want to say it's not ambitious because that's not what I mean. But it's so hard. Like, I try not to compare it to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway because that really is one of my favorite albums.
We just listened to that,
and we just listened to it so much. So I try not to compare them because, like you said, they are very different. And I love all Genesis albums. I don't need to say that.
Well, they all have something. They all have.
But I love them all.
Yeah.
And I love Selling England by the Pound. But it really is something that I struggle with. Bouncing from, from between the two, because Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is just such a giant thematic masterpiece. I mean, just enormous, mm-hmm. two album, and this just feels like, quieter, mm-hmm. and I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah, it is.
And it's weird because there's no reason for it. You can't say, oh, but, they lost this guy, or this guy, it's like
it's just
the same exact 5 guys, no changes.
And yet you could see this as a transitional album. There are some things on this that definitely point forward in a way that they don't, even like More Fool Me. It's like, except for Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, there's going to be, on every album after, there's going to be a kind of romantic ballad.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
And it's usually going to be Mike Rutherford and then Phil.
Right.
But that's going to be a feature, and
yep.
Certainly, just talking about that, More Fool Me. This sounds denigrating. It's a nice ditty.
He's a nice song.
This is a good song.
Song.
It's a good song. It does feel a little bit out of place, but on the record, because it is
the last
end
song.
Of side 2,
yeah.
Side 2, because it's the end of side 1, it works better in that respect than when you listen to it on CD, where it just
having the little pause afterward, it makes a little more sense.
Makes a difference.
Well, that's why More Fool Me is a fun kind of example of, you're okay with that, but later on you're going to be mad about Follow You, Follow Me.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many. I think a lot of Genesis fans aren't necessarily okay with it. Okay. I think they just pass over it.
They let it go. Yeah. They let this one slide.
It's very short.
Yeah.
You can forget it's
fine. It doesn't. No, it's a nice song.
It is fine. It is fine. But it's strange on this album, but it does kind of show, point forward to presage, foreshadow, whatever you want to say, future songs, and the Battle of Epping Forest definitely, to me, it points to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I mean, the things that Peter Gabriel's trying to do on that.
Yeah, I think...
Not trying to do, but the things he's doing on that.
Yeah, the way he sings a lot of the melodies and just his singing style, I think, looks toward Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Because on Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, he perfected it. Telling a story, being pretty verbose... and even singing over all of Tony Banks' instrumental parts.
He really sings throughout the entire...
Yeah, he does.
15 million minute song.
12-minute song, and it's mostly him. Yeah.
He does all the characters.
Does all the parts, yeah. But, there are parts where it's very difficult to say. It's too long. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if I would say that, not definitively, but there are parts where he should probably not be singing.
Take a breath and let there be a little space.
Yeah.
I never really thought about how long it was, to be honest. I didn't realize that it was actually 12 minutes long.
That's why I said I don't know if it's too long.
So it is long. It never really registered for me until I actually looked at it. Finally,
he could chill out just for a second.
Take a breath, Peter.
But on Lamb Lies Down Broadway, I mean, he does that perfectly. I mean, figuring out how to do that, and the band I guess the band being more everything more aligned.
Yeah, and more economical with his actual lyrics and storytelling.
I think obviously the reason why people hold this in such high esteem is, there are at least three legitimately
like
classic songs on this.
Yeah. Well, we're jumping around, so I don't know if you want to go in order.
We can jump around. Jump around.
Jump
around.
So the cinema show is obviously like...
Well, you're really jumping around.
I went to the very last song. Almost last song. I've gone through phases of my life where I've just listened to the cinema show over and over again.
Oh, what a dork.
And specifically the last movement, which I think is just gorgeous and so fun to listen to, and fun to listen to the live versions that they used to do as part of the medley. So Dancing with the Moonlit Night, now we'll talk about the first song.
That's right.
It's a beautiful opener.
I love the opening.
Exciting and great
totally unique song. It really is a completely unique song. I mean, I don't know if offhand has anyone written a song like that. Mm-hmm. And when they talk about doing, kind of English folk, or you could say British folk, if you want to include all the Celts.
Right.
But, this really does do that. And in a way that is still rock. Because often enough, to my taste, it goes too far to the folk side. It goes too far to the elven side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This doesn't. This is still very much grounded. No matter what costume he's wearing, it's still grounded. It's still really interesting. And the other thing, just on this whole album, one thing I really do love about it, Steve Hackett's guitar is stunning. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
He's all over like what, and I mean his. Everything that he's doing, all the tapping, everything.
He has a lot of great moments on this album. Really, really beautiful.
This is, if you want to know why Steve Hackett's a great guitar player, this album this would tell you.
Yeah, and it's not like he's like being like fully utilized in the right way on this album, where on some other ones you're kind of like, wait, is that the guitar?
Yeah, is that keyboard? Is that guitar? What is that?
Which is also fun. I mean, I do like
I love that part
of the
too.
two.
I love that they do
but
that.
You can clearly tell what's the guitar on this one. It's really great.
Which also just brings up another thing. I was going to say, you know, people sort of casting doubt on the fret tapping thing and
taking away from Mr. Hackett.
You know, there have been some people, and you know, I admire Van Halen very much, and I like their first 5 albums. I enjoy. He really was amazing, but Steve Hackett really, if Van Halen, and you could say that Van Halen had not seen Steve Hackett, had no idea of any, that's fine.
Right.
But if he had, it wouldn't be that difficult for him to just adapt that to what he was doing.
There's video footage of Steve Hackett doing it. You know, you can't deny that.
I just think
he was doing it early. So
a very, very interesting musician. You know, great guitar player. This is his testimonial. And I mean, he has a few of them, but I mean, like this is
testimonial.
Great. No, really, it's like, you know, why is he so good? It's like, just listen to this.
Yes.
My favorite song on this, and I actually do. My favorite song is Rutherford. Tony Banks is amazing. This is the opening piano is beautiful. The way the song blossoms and the way Tony Banks develops the melody in Rutherford, it's actually like recognizably Tony Banks.
It is.
You know, he, you know, his kind of songwriting, his approach to melody, really interesting. I love the song, and I mean the moment where the Taurus pedals come in, you know, during the guitar solo,
a brown note,
is just so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I've never seen that live, and that's, you know, I'll have to go see one of the Genesis cover bands, I suppose.
Yeah, we should. That'd be really fun.
I Know What I Like is a great song. This album though, it has a couple of the most accessible melodies that they would do, really. I mean, as far as just lyrically, even though I Know What I Like has, you know, the verses have, you know, more I guess you could say idiosyncratic Peter Gabriel lyrics, but the chorus is really like almost pub song.
Yeah, it's like a real sing along.
And
you get the sense they're all like singing it together.
Yeah, it's just two of the most accessible melodies, the most, you know, pop-ish. Even though I Know What I Like has the percussion is awesome.
I know. I love
really,
that.
You know,
boom.
There's a lot.
Boom.
I know they say, you know, it's their Beatle thing, and I mean that you can hear that. But if they hadn't said that, I mean, I don't know if you'd really hear that quite so strongly. It's a difficult album to kind of wrap your mind around, because it does seem like an outlier to me, and you know, when you listen to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway a ton, and then put this on, or listen to Nursery Crime, or you know, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. This album is very striking. It's a different tone, and because of that, I'm hesitant to judge it. Yeah, it's so much its own thing.
Yeah,
it's like, well, that's interesting. Well, that song, they probably wouldn't have. You know, I don't know if they would have put that on Foxtrot, or I don't know if they would have put that on, you know, even Trick of the Tail, or, you know.
Yeah. And you wonder, I mean, because, you know, we've watched interviews and read stuff, you know, you really wonder if it's so different, because it really got kind of like hodgepodge of stuff, you know, people were like, oh, I want my song in there, and oh, I want my song, and, you know, so it wasn't like a really, like, clear theme or a really clear concept. It was just like, everyone's kind of like, I want my thing in there, and... I
mean, it does seem like there was some of that, but not...
I don't know how much, so if more much. Than any other album. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a reason why it is what it is, but it is what it is, and it's great.
It definitely kind of stands out among their discography, and I mean, you know, whether that means you love it or not, I mean, really,
It's none of my business.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah, I don't have any big insights to add. It's just...
The one thing I would say, actually, sorry, because you had to start talking so I could interrupt you. We talk every now and then. We say, like, I don't know, would you recommend this as the first album or this or that? No, I probably wouldn't. I think you should listen to other Genesis stuff first. Just because this was actually, for me, way back when, this was really the first album that I listened to on my own, and I probably should have listened to Nursery Crime.
Yeah.
Or Trick of the Tail first.
Yeah, well funny enough, this
would have been a smart one.
This was one that I listened to later, in my own personal progression of listening to Genesis albums. It was of course, it was a long
I know,
time
we're actually talking about a pretty big stretch of time between all that.
But. Yeah, but it was I worked through a lot of other Genesis albums before I got to this one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend this as a first album either, I don't think. Thank you so much for watching our brief discussion of Selling England by the Pound. Please make sure to let us know in the comments what you think of this album, and please like and subscribe. Make sure to stay tuned for more videos here at States and Kingdoms every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will see you next time. Have a wonderful weekend.